Insurance.
Meeting is called to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Terry, can you do a roll call for us?
Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
Councilmember Fletcher. Present. Councilmember Garbett.
Here.
Councilmember Mays.
Here.
Councilmember Barnhart.
Here.
Councilmember Bakke.
Here.
All right, and we will move right along to public comment. Delbert, anything for us tonight?
Delbert Eichel, Stewartstown. When you're looking for an administrator, one of the things that Dale and I talked about several times is we wouldn't do things the same way we did 20 years ago, from 50 to 70. I know I don't look 70, but anyway, at this age, you've lived through a lot of that, and life experiences really make a difference on handling people and dealing with issues and so on. I know you'd like to have somebody that can write grants and stuff, but I wouldn't lean that direction. A young smartass or smart aleck or Mr. Smarty Pants wouldn't know how to deal with all the other issues. And if he's one sided more or less, you know, if he's only got one main, help me out, I didn't sleep last night. Anyway,
Opinion?
well, that and, you know, he's good at one thing. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'd kind of look, if you can do it, maybe somebody that's been here before or somebody that is a little older maybe. But I know that sounds terrible, but me and Dale had this conversation a lot of times. Life experiences makes a big difference. And you got all these employees and all these agencies or all these, you know, the electric department, water department, all that. If you can't handle those people, your budget might get out of hand. The other thing I'd like to see in an administrator, somebody really studied that budget and brought things forward to us, because that budget can get away from us. Instead of looking for grants all the time, which most of them I guess we have to pay back, I'd be looking towards trying to get to where we're staying in our budget and we're not borrowing and we're not come up against something. We're not buying stuff that other things need to be fixed, but we're buying this because it's, you know, a new motorcycle or a new car or, you know, kind of like some people do. There's people younger than me that I've talked to and tried to explain to them how to run a business, you know, how to manage their employees. They don't listen most of the time. It's like, you need to do this. Well, I do it this way because, and then a lot of them end up going broke too. So I would look for somebody that's got a little bit of everything and maybe good at the budget and administrative part and dealing with the people. Not me. I got too much to do. I should be on the tractor right now.
Thank you, Delbert.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, guys, moving along, general business. Item A is the approval of the March 14th Utility Committee meeting minutes. That's on page 2. Take a look. Actually, we have to approve because we dissolved the committee. So these actually do have to be approved. All right. Any discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve. Kelly has made the motion. Seconded it by Mike. All the roll call.
Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Yes.
Councilmember Garbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Mays.
Yes.
Councilmember Barnhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Bakke.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right. Item B on page 3, that would be the Community Development Committee meeting minutes from April 11th. Take a look at those. If there's any discussion or questions, changes, edits. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Bink. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Andy Baki. All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Yes.
Councilmember Garbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Mays.
Yes.
Councilmember Barnhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Baki.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item C, regular session meeting minutes from April 11th on page 4. Take a look at those. If there are any edits or questions or discussion, now is the time. If there are no edits, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Baki,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Yes.
Councilmember Garbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Mays.
Yes.
Councilmember Barnhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Baki.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, page 7, regular session, oh, no, sorry, that's special session, work session. So the April 18th meeting, again, the meeting minutes from that, take a look at those. Councilmember Campbell has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilmember Mays. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Yes.
Councilmember Garbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Mays.
Yes.
Councilmember Barnhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Baki.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you. And then, let's see, now we're moving along. On page 10, there's an ordinance vacating Elm Street Alley and declaring an emergency. Joe, will you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes, so you may recall, this goes back to a prior council, that there was some discussion about new homes being developed on Elm Street. And they had been, actually, they're not subject to our current zoning because they had actually been, the subdivision had been recorded and approved by a prior council that goes back before our zoning code was approved. One of the things that they had done in their original layout of that community is there are, as you kind of are pulling into the street on the left side and on the right side, both the north and the south, there are 2 alleys that were dedicated to the village that went behind those first 2 homes. The alleys that are to the south are there and they were already constructed. The alleys to the north, though, they do not desire to continue as part of their development plan. And so this is a motion requesting that those alleys be vacated. I will tell you, the village never formally accepted those, but they were platted. And because they were platted, we need to do a formal vacation in order to clear title on those 2 properties. If we were not to vacate those, we would take on some obligations related to them that I don't think we want to do. Given that the way that the property's been laid out, we'd rather have those individual property owners responsible for that. So all you're doing here is vacating the platted interest that was never formally accepted, just so that that developer will have clean title.
And when those alleys were put in originally with the plan of the subdivision, all of the garages were going to be in the back of the home. So the alleys were going to be so they could drive in and pull into their garage. But with a new developer, they don't want to do that type of design, which there's not a need for the alley on the north side. If that makes sense.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Councilmember Mays has made the motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Campbell.
I just want to point out, Kelly Jones was pointing out to me that when the council originally accepted the layout of the property, I should just point out those alleys were included on there. It was just never formally recorded, our interest in that. I just want to clarify that.
All right. Tara, roll call.
Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Yes.
Councilmember Garbett.
Yes.
Councilmember Mays.
Yes.
Councilmember Barnhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Baki.
Yes.
Ordinance 1368.
Motion passes. All right, next item on the list is historical signage committee nominations. Actually, I'm going to push this to the work session, if everybody's okay with that. Just remember that we need to fill a couple seats on that committee, so any suggestions, please reach out to me, and then we'll discuss it at the next work session, and with the hopes of approving it at the next meeting after that.
Can you repeat that first part of that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The historical signage committee, at the work session, we talked about filling a couple seats.
I'm caught up now.
Yeah, okay.
That's cool, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and then item G, nuisance properties. Joe, I know this is coming to you.
I want to make sure I'm talking about the right thing. You just wanted me to talk about our various options on this?
You had, the meeting before last, you had a couple properties that you wanted to not specifically
Okay.
discuss.
Yeah, so
Discuss.
Yeah, so I want to give you a preview of a couple different things. I think there were two things I was going to talk about. One is I've been approached by representatives from the land bank about the fact that right now, every couple of years, you all will ask me, what can we do about property X? What can we do about property Y that's out there where we're having issues where we either can't find the owner, we don't know who the owner is, or we have a situation where the owner's just not willing to comply and take care of the property. I've had some discussions with the Brown County Land Bank, and they would like for us over the next couple of meetings to be looking at some properties that they would like to kind of partner with us to essentially take legal action to formally acquire those properties, place those into the land bank, get them remediated, and then the land bank would take title to those properties. They have identified at least one, and I believe there might be a second one coming, that they would like to try kind of as a pilot program. And I want to get council's kind of take your temperature on if that's something that you're interested in doing. I also want to explain for the benefit of the newer council members, there are two other avenues that we have to use for nuisance properties. And we have had what I would qualify as mixed success with some of these properties. As I drive around Georgetown, I will often see properties where I can go, oh, we cleaned that property up. And then I'll see other properties where I'll say, well, we cleaned it up and now it's not good again. Or I will see properties where, we were unsuccessful in doing that. And I will tell you that the courts are a good mechanism to do it. But if we have a partner like the land bank and working on some of these, it also provides a funding source for demolition. So I just want to prepare you all for the fact that we're going to be bringing those to you for approval at probably at your next two council meetings. We would have to take formal action because you'd have to, we would obviously have some recitations, and I've asked Mike to prepare this for us, a list of the history of the property, so you can see what we've been doing and when we previously have already declared it a nuisance. And at this point, you would be authorizing me to go into court and take injunctive relief, to ask the court to do this, and then the land bank would step up and say they'd be willing to take responsibility. And I would work with their legal counsel to accomplish that.
What is the nuisance that seems to fall together? Is it the no roof? Is it
These are
just
properties,
junky, or
yeah.
is it they not paying tax?
I would kind of qualify these as category 5. These are properties that are either abandoned, unsafe, or constitute a situation where the property owner is either not taking responsibility and it's eventually going to become a hazard. I would not qualify this as a property that's cluttered or a property where, they need to fix the gutters. This is not those types of properties. These are the abandoned ones that when we drive around, that we see that are in serious need of somebody stepping in. And I can tell you that this goes back to when Mayor Cahall was here. We would try to do things when some of these properties, and like I said, some of them were a success and some were not. But we do have this new tool in the land bank. And I think we should take advantage of that if you're willing to do that. I just wanted to lay the groundwork so that if I bring a property to you, and it will be in your next packet so that you'll have time to look at it. And Mike's preparing for me a summary of all the things we've done in the past on the one that we're thinking of in particular. And if this works, I think it could become a tool in the future for us to partner in the future on other properties. But these are not your run-of-the-mill property maintenance cases. And I think when you see them, you'll recognize these as properties that you know. So I just want to make sure that we lay the groundwork for that. And then secondarily, I wanted to talk about the fact that in talking to Mike, there may be some additional properties as well that we do want to declare a nuisance on so that we can start taking other action on. And as you know, we often don't do a lot of that in the winter. A lot of that comes in the warmer weather because Mike probably knows best that you can't find people to do work. And our goal is not to punitively punish people for issues when they have property issues. We just want it cleaned up. And if that means they have to hire a contractor, then we work with them and we give them periods of time, because as I tell people, our goal is not to make them pay money to us. That doesn't do anything. We just want the property remediated. So I would anticipate over probably the next 2 meetings. I have to remember we got work sessions now. So maybe I'll do it as a first reading at the work session, and then we could vote on it at the regular meeting. I'll bring you the first property that we're going to do as our pilot.
Is the land bank county or state?
It's county.
County.
They receive funding from the state.
Okay.
Is that properties like up there on the main square? Roof on it for 2 years.
That might be the type
I don't
of property
want to
that
point
would,
out the name, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, that would be one that would qualify. And I would say that as well, to remember at the end of the day, the goal is for the title to transfer. So that's why I said this doesn't really work for a business that's active with just problems. These are properties that there's back taxes owed on. Perhaps they're in foreclosure, they're in line for a sheriff's sale, things like that. Those are the properties we would target. And I will tell you that we probably have to be very conservative about which ones we target, only because there's a limited amount of money the land bank has for this. So when their council reached out to me, I said, I'll approach council and see if that's something we would like to try. And then I'll bring you the first one for you to look at once we have it'll literally look like a file on what we've done so that you have all the information.
Does that stop them from going to the sheriff's sale then if they're obtained through that land bank? Because I know a lot of investments opportunities that I've came across were properties that were delinquent on taxes, and I come out rather well by being able to buy them. And I'm not saying that that's not important for them to take and clean them up, but it does take away from local small investors by doing things of that nature too.
I can't answer that question. I don't know enough yet about the process, but I'll try to have that answer for the next meeting. I will tell you though, these
I want
are,
to clean up, not.
yeah, these are targeted,
But-
so I don't think it's going to foreclose other opportunities for people, because one of the reasons, and I've seen this done with environmental issues most frequently, but this is a very easy way for us to raise a building using money, and then it's obviously cleaned up. And the land bank can do what they want with that property, which usually I would guess is probably, if they don't keep it vacant, then they could sell it.
And then would they reinvest the money?
That's right. They reinvest that money to do more cleanup work in the village. So it's kind of a win-win for the village. So I just wanted to put on your radar so it wasn't a surprise that we would be doing that. That was something I was going to do at a work session, but since we did it tonight, that's great. So then I'll get this stuff in front of you, and just so you know the sequence of events, I'll be asking you to authorize me to pursue that injunctive relief, and the land bank would then be the party that we would propose work with us to remediate. Is everyone comfortable with that? And like I said, you'll have time to review the ordinance when I prepare it at the next meeting. And we'll do that for each property that comes before you. So if there's a property that you don't agree with us pursuing, we don't need to. It's not like you're giving any blanket instruction. So I just wanted to put that on your radar.
All right, thank you. On page 14 is your payment register. Take a look at that. If there are any questions, we'll try to answer. If not, we will follow up with an answer. All right. And then if there are no questions on that, we can move right into roundtable. And I will start on my left. Councilmember Bakke. Anything for the group?
Not tonight, no.
No. Councilmember Fletcher? Nothing? Councilmember Garbett.
I just have a couple of events that I've been announcing. One is the Community Day this Saturday at the elementary school. So they're going to have games, bounce house, face painting, photo booth. All of those are free. They will have like food. They'll have snow cone and a bunch of vendors that will be there. Those, of course, will cost money. But the most of the fun stuff is going to be free. They do have a raffle, a silent auction. And the money that is raised for those things goes straight back to the kids and helps with other events that they have planned. So that's the one thing. It starts at 11 o'clock at the school. It's inside, and then the bounce houses and stuff will be outside. And then next Thursday, we kind of got a late jump on this, but we're having the National Day of Prayer, and it's going to be at the park this year. So I talked to Kelly. We felt that it didn't meet the requirements to have an application. If council feels differently for that, we can of course talk about that. But so it's going to start at 6 o'clock at the park, and it's going to be a little bit different this year. We're going to meet together. So those churches who would want to be involved and other people who might want to be involved, we're going to meet at 6 o'clock near the senior playground, and then we're going to go to different places in the community to pray for those places. So if anybody wants to be involved with that, you can always contact me, and I'll get you pointed in the right direction. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Campbell.
I just have one kind of a question. When are we going to start mowing, like the properties that's?
Mike's already sent an out notice.
Yeah, that's all I have.
All right, Councilmember Barnhart.
Okay, so I was notified of an event, Family Fun Day at the Eagles from 12 until 5 on June 15th. They're trying to get local support. They're trying to get more vendors, game booths. Steve Wolf is DJing, and he can do shout outs. And if you can help with that or want to be involved in that, then you would contact Rachel Triplett. That's it.
All right, Councilmember Mays.
Okay, I got a few things. One, I've discussed with several different actually, I think kind of touch base with all the council members, and I spoke with you a couple times in regards to this, Mayor, in regards to the North Pleasant Street name change possibly, if council would consider, would like to change that name to John Ludi E. Lane. I have there's 2 homes on that street. I'm not going to mention the names of the homeowners, but I can pass that on to Joe and Kelly for whatever might be needed. Wanted to see if we could either table that till next meeting and vote on that, or maybe we could go ahead and move forward and
One of the things, since we just did this for the name change behind us here, typically we'll reach out and get the consent of if there's only 2 homes, we'll talk to those homeowners. We could reach out to them. I think that's usually one of the biggest considerations, since they would have to change address labels and mailing and update all their addresses. So yes, that's something we can look into.
Okay. And I do have people in the community that are willing to pay for the sign, so it would be no cost to the village for that sign change on that street. And if it does go through, we'd like to be able to purchase and order 2 of them signs, one for the street and one for Mr. Ludi himself. So I don't know if you can work on that, Kelly, if council
Approval, then
So is that something we can vote on now, or do we need to wait, or do you want to call? Because
Why don't we reach out to those homeowners first so that they
Yeah,
know
I think
it's
we
not going to be an
better.
issue? Because I think that's something you could take into consideration, but why don't we put that on the agenda for the next meeting? Does that work?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and do you have their information, you said?
Yes, and I'll
Okay.
give it to you before we leave.
Okay.
And then I have a company owner in town that is, well, actually, I've had tons of people complain about I don't know if there's been bombs let off up there or what, and it truly don't benefit me to open my mouth about this because it's about my competition, other restaurants. But up there between Taco Bell and McDonald's anybody going to them places or the Chinese restaurant or IGA that's a consumer in Georgetown that visits them probably has to have a monthly alignment on the front of their car due to the potholes. And I know that that's a private piece of property, but I also know that we have a hot box, and I know that Blacktop's not that expensive. And I have a local business that's willing to pay $350 to $400 toward the blacktop repair and is willing to come out and help with blowing them potholes out along with myself. And I've got a roller for blacktop that we could bring uptown for free, no cost to the town, that's my own. And from what I'm talking to, I don't want to put anybody's name out there, but we're probably not $1,000 to fix them potholes. And if we've got a local business willing to do something with us, and I know that there's another company looking at that, not pointing no names out or throwing nothing out, but it's just for the money, I think that we're helping a lot of people in the community by doing something like that. I know Delbert mentioned earlier about budget, and I get that 100%, but for the money we're talking here, we're not talking a lot. And what the people in our community that we're here to serve, but by the time they pay for new tires because the alignments and the beating the front end of their cars up, it's a very little investment for the community as a whole. That, and then,
You want to discuss that though, before you move on to your next item?
yeah, yes. Is that something that we can vote on and make happen, or is that?
Well, it's private property. So we can't go onto their property and do that without their consent. So that's something that we could reach out to the property owner about.
We can, but with that said, I understand how bad it is because I like to go in there and eat too. But once you start that process, you're going to have every business in town wanting you to patch their potholes in their lots. Not saying a pothole in a parking lot is equivalent to what you're talking about because that's
Sound like a roadway to the businesses, and I
It
know
is.
it's private property, but a lot of people can't afford an alignment, you know, and I get what you're saying about it being private property, but if we could reach out to them possibly, and I mean, the money we're talking is very minuscule compared to, you know. So anybody have anything to say on that by chance?
Maybe that owner would, if you're gonna donate some time and material and equipment, he may not walk so much.
The other council members feel?
I agree. I think he might be willing to work. I know.
We've had he's had some issues with people in the past, but I think if we're like, hey, we have the money and we have the resources to do it, I don't think he'd have an issue. I mean, I don't know him well, but.
Keep in mind, there is the potential for something to happen later this summer in that complex possibly, which might lead to the road being fixed,
Right. Is
but
Sawyer's kind of somewhat contracted to fix homes?
Well, it's potential bid, but again, it's on down the road is what I'm hearing too.
I have a couple comments.
Yes.
I know last year I was kind of talking with Art and Dale about it. If you remember, before Taco Bell come in, there was a big crater that kind of formed, a culvert pipe or something collapsed out there. There's always potholes right through that area. And that was a huge discussion. We kicked around everything from possibly, if just exactly like we're talking about, if you go and you do it for one, you're going to do it for everybody else. So we even come up with a plan of one load, because it's, like 3 ton, for example. We even talked about donating. The village donates one hot box a year to businesses to just kind of promote. We appreciate your business. We want you just exactly like you're saying. So we went down this road a little bit last year. It wasn't that bad last year, but it was a kind of a unanimous consensus then that they were just wanting to hold off and try to get the landowner to at least help out. So don't think it was a very easy task last year, but my question is, somebody fixed it before. Was that Was that just a private? Does anybody know? Like a few months ago, because somebody had do some patch in there. Do you know anything
I
about that?
don't know who would have done it.
I agree with you totally. I mean, we all use those businesses daily, but I think, and I'll gladly help out too with trying to reach out to the home or the landowners or whatever. But I would really like for something to happen as well, because it's constantly being talked about.
We're kind of in a bind here. It's going to be addressed. With that said, I can't say too much about the timeline, but it should be sometime this summer.
Right.
Okay. Without any real discussion. Is that safe to say, Mayor? Okay. So if people can bear a few more months, it's been 2 or 3 years, it should be addressed.
Okay.
Any other discussion on that?
What about, I mean, could we just, I don't know. I'm kind of citing a little bit. That's what I was thinking. Could we throw some?
I mean, at this point,
I know we
it's
shouldn't,
unavoidable. You can't drive
No.
around it. So
I was behind a car that literally I thought was going to go into last week that like got in that hole, didn't see it. I don't know how they didn't see it, but we take a lot of heat for that. And I know it's not us.
I work for council, so.
I'm not counsel. It's
I probably
just,
had 50 to 75 calls on that alone this year.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we reach out to the property owner with the kind of, this is what we want to do approach and see what reaction we get. We'll report back to you.
We can do that.
All right.
And then this is a bad one, and I'm probably gonna get shot down for this too. We have some local business owners in town that don't live in town. And I know we've got ordinances. I know we approve ordinances, and I don't know if we can do anything about this, but this has been brought up to me multiple times too by business owners that pay tax to the village for their businesses, and they live right outside of town, and they have no representation through a vote, and they pay us tax every year too. Don't know if I'm just putting it up there for discussion and seeing where it goes. I've heard it several times from other business owners that live right outside of town, and they don't feel like it's right that they're paying the tax to the town because they have a business.
They can talk to council members.
And also, yeah, but
That's your constituents, they can influence you.
Let me clarify. So somebody has a business in town, but they don't live in town, so they have no representation up here. You are wanting, what is your recommendation to that
I
property?
don't know what we can do about it, you know? I mean, I don't know the legalities to that, but I do think that, it seems like, for example, and I don't want to sound like I'm being mean toward people that are tenants, but for example, a person can move from Kalamazoo and live here come July, let's say, and then they can go and vote in our elections in November. They move out in December. They didn't pay nothing in taxes. They have nothing invested like the business owner would. You've got business owners here that have been here for 50 years that are seeing this and that are saying this. Now, I just feel like that's kind of didn't this happen once in our history? That there was the Tea Party? So is there anything we can do to change that as a council?
I guess I'm a little confused. What exactly are you asking?
We've got ordinances that we write that say this is the way certain things are done. Can't we change that and give them some kind of vote in what we do? I'm not necessarily saying even be able to be seated in a position because they don't live here, but wouldn't it be right for them to have the ability to vote on people in these seats?
I mean, this goes to the state law. I mean, I think this is something you need to address with the legislature, because the legislature says if you don't live in the village of Georgetown, you don't get to cast a vote in the village of Georgetown.
And I can live with that, but how can they tax you in the village of Georgetown?
Because I pay 1.75% of my income to the city of Cincinnati, and I don't live there. So, very good point. I have no vote there, but my office is located there. So I think we have lots of people that pay income tax to the village of Georgetown from working here who don't live here. So I think what you're asking is more of a fundamental question of the legislature, and how would they address an issue like that? But unfortunately, the people that are allowed to vote in our elections and the people that are allowed to basically have a say in that are people that are physical residents of the village. However, I would point out to you that one way you could address it, since you're kind of looking creatively, some communities create business advisory councils. And what those are, they make recommendations to council on various topics, and they're made up of business owners who may or may not be residents. We also have a CIC that does not require that you have to be in the village. So those might be two ways that you could give them a voice, but maybe I can't do anything about a vote.
Okay. Well, I mean, and that is wonderful in itself, just what you said.
Yeah.
So maybe we can look into that then.
Didn't you say that Milford or somewhere has something?
Several communities do those business advisory councils. I also know school districts do that for people who are not necessarily have children in the district, but have a say, about property values. So that is something. I also, again, your CIC is another tool for that. But if you want something more direct, I might suggest that maybe you study the idea of a business advisory council and what role they could play.
Okay.
And it would be made up of just business owners, not necessarily residents, that could maybe point out some things to you that you're unaware of. Maybe even Jason Hammond could have some suggestions from things he's gathered. But yeah, I've seen that done before.
Okay, and then one other quick thing, and I promise you I'll leave it at this. I've had several people come up to me and complain about a business here. Actually, I'm gonna call them out on it because I'm gonna shower them with love here in a moment. Up here at Shell, in front of it, they've got trees and shrubs that are growing up there. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I want people to know, because I can't remember all the people, but there's been many people tell me that when they go to pull out a Shell and they go to look left toward the outside of town, they can't see a car coming. Well, as a business owner, it's kind of discouraging when you get told what to do on your land. So what I did was I went up to the business owner as a customer, not representing the town. As a customer, I went up to him and informed him that several people had come to me as a council member and mentioned this to me. And I told him that I didn't feel right taking it to the council. I felt rather I should, as a customer, take it to him. So I went to him. I asked him about removing them bushes, the trees, or cutting them down lower. And I told him the potential for people to get hurt. And he graciously said he would take care of it. So I wanted to reach out and thank him for being so kind to do so, because it does save the possibility of somebody getting hammered through there. Anyways, that's all I had, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Chief Rocky?
Yeah, thanks. I got a few things. In regards to the community day at the school, we'll have the little smokehouse up there every year for the kids. We borrow it from Bethel every year. They actually deliver it, come back and pick it up. So I'm thankful for that. So we'll be up there with the fire trucks and things on Saturday, the smoke trailer. We had all of our fire hose tested this week. It was 6,500 feet of hose tested. Company came in and actually they came in and did everybody in the county. We did it at Mount Orb, one place, and we had 6 sections fail. But that's why we test it, just to I'd rather it fail there than in the middle of a fire. So all that's been tested. Like I said, we had 6 fail, which is no big deal because we have tons of spare hose. So I'll just take that out of service. Actually, a couple of them failed for bubbles and things around the coupling, so I can just cut the coupling, cut 2 feet off and recouple it and use it. So get it retested and use it. So, but anyways, that's all been tested. Albert, you might want to plug your ears, buddy, for this. So, we've got a problem, and it needs some attention much sooner than I had planned. We have 3 ambulances up there. One of them, if you remember, was bought with the intention on using it to refurbish it. Okay. And it serves as a spare for one of the other ones are in the shop, which has been pretty routinely lately. We still have 2 squads in service for the village. So, I wasn't anticipating looking to buy something this year. So there was nothing in the budget for that. I haven't discussed it with Administrator Jones or anything, but the problem lies with availability of stuff. If we ordered a brand new ambulance today, it would take 2 years for us to get it. If we were to refurbish one today, it would take 16 to 18 months to get it. The problem is I reached out to some refurbishing companies or companies that do that. So just to kind of enlighten you a little bit, refurbishing one means they'll take the box off, redo the box, and put it on a new chassis. Okay. And usually you can save some money by doing that. Problem is, most of them are booked up. I've got one coming out in June. He can't even come out here till June to look at ours to make sure it's, acceptable. And I'm sure it will be because it's a Braun box. But he said the soonest he could even get one in the shop if we gave him the order today would be August of 25. And then you're putting 16, 18 months on top of that. At the rate we're driving these things, our newest squad's a 2018. It has 170,000 miles on it. And it's just, there's a puddle of oil under it that big around, it's just leaks from everywhere. It's just worn out. That doesn't seem like a lot. It runs good, but everything underneath of it, that box weighs 18,000 pounds. It's on the back of it. So with that being said, that squad is not going to last 2 years. Okay. It's just not. It'll croak. The second squad out is a 2007 or 17, and it's got like 125,000 miles on it. It's not too bad, but our frontline squad, the bigger one is getting to where it's just costing us a fortune to keep it maintained and what have you. With that being said, I printed off some stuff here. I wanted to let you guys kind of know where these things are money-wise. For a new squad, you're looking at about $300,000. Okay. I printed off some things here. Here's one that's a 2023 that I found for sale. It's $350,000. Here's a 2016, just so you know what used stuff goes for. A 2016 with 115,000 miles on it, so it's 8 years old, and it's $160,000. Okay. I found one that's being refurbished. It'll be available in about 6 months. It's on a 2022 chassis. It's being refurbished. It's $250,000. Okay. With that being said, I don't know, I don't know what the answer is, but there is an ambulance, and I'm going to just throw this out there for you guys to ponder, but there's Fayetteville just bought 2 new ambulances, and they've run into some issues where they can't keep both of them. They have to sell one. Okay. They've got one for sale. How I come across it, I was looking at ambulances. I was like, holy crap, so I'm scrolling through. They wanted $330,000 for it, but talked them down to $300,000. I know the chief, obviously, but it's readily available. We didn't budget for it. We don't have any debt in our department, and we don't have $300,000 laying around. So there would have to be, a bond done or whatever it is Kelly does to get these miracles worked, but it's available. So I'm not saying we have to buy this. I'm just saying we're not in a crisis mode, but it's a lot of money, but we're racking up the miles on these squads at a record pace. And, there's one sitting up there that's available. It is I will say it's a Braun unit. I don't know if you're related to him, Joe Braun, or not, but
Wish.
yeah, it's a,
Those are expensive.
yeah, it's a nice unit, but, they're out there, but you're looking about 300 grand. If we ordered a new one today, it would be 2 years. And I'm not so sure that what we have will continue running at the pace we're running them in 2 years.
I have a question. I know with the more modern times, you run a lot more. What's the typical time frame you get out of, like, what do you have budgeted? How often do you have to replace these?
Well, I had talked to Mayor Bollington when she came on board back in January, and I had told her at that time, in 2025, you're going to, see it in the budget. We've got to do something.
You have a 17 and 18, you're planning on it in 25. So
Yeah, and my goal was in 25 was to send the old one, that really old one we have off, and have it refurbished. The problem is if we can't get it even in the shop until 2025, and it's going to be 16, 18 months, that's over 2 years away. And I just don't think, to be honest with you, that Ford's going to last that long.
So when's the last time before the refurbished one, the one that we have, the Ford, when did we buy that?
2018,
So we bought it in 2000, so it's made it 6 years.
6 years.
And the problem is too, in their department, they're running both squads a lot simultaneously, which then, ideally you would have one squad out, one back to kind of save on miles, and we're finding that that's not happening.
I guess another question would be, since you're using the same box, so to speak, is it not something to where you could just kind of rebuild the undercarriage as far as put a new engine, transmission? I mean, you got kind of three main
We
components.
put an entire new front end under the Ford last year, and it was about $7,000.
Mhm.
And when you drive it down the road now, it's just guys are complaining about it because I don't know if you ever driven it, but it's just feels like it's super. It just goes down the road like this, and it's just I don't think, in my honest opinion, the chassis was big enough for the box.
So 7.3,
It's a 6.4.
6.4.
Mhm. Yeah. But, the refurbishing them is a great idea. That's Ripley, that's how they do all their squads. They'll buy older ones and refurbish them. And, you can typically save $60,000 or $70,000. You can usually refurbish them one time, but you have to have a good quality box. I mean, you're not going to want to refurbish a MedTech unit or something. You want either a Braun or a Horton.
So it's a brand new engine, undercarriage is brand new.
It would be a brand new chassis. You would buy a new chassis, truck chassis, take the box off. They go through the box. They basically strip it down. The only thing old in it is the aluminum body, and set it on one.
So something that can be done here is, again, this is just in the infancy stages, but we could allow Joey to explore this a little more with Greg and Kelly as well, and get some ideas in place to just at least present to see. I do understand, the pressing problem, and then having something kind of right there that we could easily get and have in service almost immediately. I do understand that. So I would say no harm, no foul. Let's at least vet it out and see what the numbers look like. If we do something a year early, regardless, we're going to have to do something at some point. There may be an option too, to still get that third ambulance refurbished, and maybe that's something we sell off to help recoup some of the money. Or, keep that in your minds too. I don't know. But if you guys are okay with it, I would just say have Joey kind of work with the team here and get some ideas in place.
And that's basically what I'm, I got a few options, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on it if there's no, it's not no reality in it,
Was the 2018 brand new? So 0 miles when you?
No, when we bought it, it had like 12,000 miles on it. It was a demo.
Okay.
You guys okay with that? If Joey puts some time into it and gets some ideas back, and if you're able to, our next
meeting is
Weeks.
a work session.
Okay.
So that
Is
would be
there
a
a time
good,
frame on it? Like, are they like, hey, if you don't,
On the Fayetteville
Yeah.
truck, it's online. So, I mean, it's basically first come, first
so,
served.
okay.
So on the one, do we need to get the front end checked out before somebody gets hurt going to get somebody? Or, I mean,
Honest with you, I don't know the front end's new. I mean, just last year, we had the front end totally redone on it because it was just shot and I don't know if there's anything that can be done with it, Mike.
there ain't no warranty on that, or, I mean, like, if I have problems with something I have worked on, normally,
Was that sent to like Mount Orb?
A Williamsburg truck did it. Yeah, there's no Mount Orb Ford. There's no place around here that has a lift to put them on. Was the problem. So Williamsburg's the closest place to take an ambulance to have it worked on if it has to be put on a lift. Because most places don't have the lift big enough to lift it. And if they do, they don't have clearance in their shops.
So how long did you have that front end on there?
It was last year. 2 years at the longest, but I thought it was last year.
Okay. So work on that, get some numbers, and then we'll come back to council and talk more about it.
I have something real quick.
Yeah.
Can somebody possibly just make an appointment with them and run it down and see if, like Mike said, I'd hate for somebody to wreck this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to take it down.
Is everybody okay with that sitting here if they make an appointment and drop that thing off for a minute and make sure
Yeah, because
crazy's not going on?
So I took it to, we had the work done and then the Bethel frame, I had to take it somewhere and get it aligned after they put the new front in it. And when it was, like I said, walking down the road, I took it back and he was like, man, it's in perfect alignment. I don't know what to tell you. So
All right.
if you was to drive it, you would I'm sure you've driven top heavy stuff. It kind of wobbles a little bit.
All right. Anything else,
Thank you.
Chief?
No, thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Assistant Chief Finlow?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Let's see. Kelly Jones?
Yes. And I'm going to probably let you and Joe address this. Back to Beans. I don't want to be known as the administrator that kicked the fair group out of the park, but from looking at the current policy we have, you'd still fall under the regulations. Okay. With that said, I talked to the mayor this evening. There's not enough time to meet the requirements based on our current policy. Joe, do you have a different opinion on the way that's written?
Well, in looking at it, it talks about small and private events held at the park. But this is a public event, right? As I understand it.
Yeah, it would be.
It's not, the question, the way we might get around it, who's sponsoring it? It may be open to the public, but who's hosting it?
Well, see, it kind of fell into our laps because the person who handled it the last several years decided not to do it and then just said, hey, sent out an email, said, can somebody take this over? And that was late last week.
It's not a village event.
It's not a village event, no. In fact, it's usually a county-wide event.
And we're running into some issues with this, with the special events policy as it's written before any modifications. We just ran into an issue with the Legion and their Memorial Day event, which it seems that it's becoming a deterrent for events that have gone on.
Motion to just drop that.
So one of the things you could do a motion to suspend or revoke it while it's being revised to address some of the issues that have come up.
Make a motion to suspend while we're making decisions on that and revising that.
I'll second.
Motion has been properly made by Councilmember Mays to,
Clear, it's the special event policy.
to suspend
Yeah, the
the
special.
special events policy
And so we can further clarify that with Councilmember Campbell seconding that motion. Discussion? If not, roll call.
Councilmember Campbell? Councilmember Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilmember Garbett?
Yes.
Councilmember Mays?
Yes.
Councilmember Barnhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Baki?
Yes.
Okay, so Bink, you can have your event.
Simple enough.
In the meantime, Kelly, I would just ask that you really vet any events that come through as far as,
We were talking, I was approached with the veterans also. They didn't have any off-site insurance. It was going to be difficult for them. We have the school, high school senior parade usually each year. They would fall under the same policy just the same as anybody else. There's a lot of things out there I think council really needs to discuss to see how far they want to go with this. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good stuff in here, but there's a lot of hindrance in here too.
We can discuss that next meeting.
yes, I already asked her to put it on the agenda for the work session. So, so it won't get lost. We'll make sure to get it where it needs to be and then get it back to council. Fair?
Certainly.
Okay. All right. Kelly, back to you.
Just a quick update on our new water building. The weather's kind of put us a little behind, to say the least. We haven't even looked at the dirt because it's still mud. The building itself, we did a site inspection yesterday. It's coming along very well. We're running into some supply issues. Unfortunately, it's on the electric side, so we have a building that we can't turn the electric on yet. So those components should be in fairly short or soon. So we're targeting about May the 7th of completion, depending on the weather and the dirt. So just an update.
Anything additional? No? All right. Solicitor, any updates for us?
Not at the moment. I will just indicate that if those of you didn't see it, because I saw it, there was a story on the news about your animal control program. I thought everybody did a good job that was interviewed for that. And so don't ever think that the things that you do aren't recognized. And other than that, I'm just working with administration on a few things, and I'll be bringing back to you those things we talked about. That's all I got.
Fantastic. I also think there's some congratulations in the room to our solicitor who was recently promoted, correct, within your firm?
Yes.
You were promoted to proper term, not partner, head of the litigation department. So congratulations.
Thank you. More responsibility, no more pay.
Just a nice title.
That's right.
All right. Anything else that needs to come before council this evening? Nothing? All right. If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Properly moved by Councilmember Campbell, Councilmember Garbett, seconded. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Meeting's adjourned. All right.
You know what it is. I do know now. So I'll do hers too.
The problem is we were getting into
Yeah, we're going to
pay raise